Hello and welcome back to the CyberSoc Podcast with me, Adam.
And me, Ryan. It's been a while, Adam.
It's been a while, Ryan. We've had... What did we end in, like, early December?
Yeah, well, we had issues in that last week, but maybe we won't get into that now.
It's now early February. It's been like a month and a half off. Nice Christmas, Ryan?
Just, bog standard Christmas.
Bog standard Christmas.
Nothing special here on that front.
Well, I mean, there was a bit of like COVID drama with.
Yeah. When I say bog standard, I mean I was in full isolation over Christmas.
Yeah, it was
not at all bog standard.
We were all like at home crying ourselves to sleep, lonely. It was brilliant Christmas.
There was nothing bog standard about it, but I didn't know how in depth we were going to go on that.
I'm fine revealing that kind of medical history.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there now. So
when we talk about my 4 arms, that's
too far.
That's too far.
And I can actually see your face this time, which is quite exciting to me.
Yeah, we're experimenting with this. Unprepared as well. We did not like.
I don't like it when it looks like you're looking directly into my eyes. That freaks me out a bit. But
what I'm doing is looking at myself, because my camera is right under my picture. So
that's a bit vain of you, Adam.
We used to back in the day when we had meals prepped for us in halls.
Oh, that was really back in the day.
Yeah, I would sit opposite the window with my flatmates, and while speaking, I would be staring at myself in the window, and it was quite. I just enjoy it. I enjoy looking at my face while I speak.
Well, it is quite the sight, Adam. Worth having a look at.
Oh well, these are poor podcast listeners. They're really missing out.
I wanted to ask you, Adam, talking about over Christmas, how was your project?
Yeah, okay. I think actually,
because I know it didn't really work out to plan for you.
Well, I mean, I think what we said on the podcast is I said I could probably get it done in a week, and you said you couldn't do that, Adam. And it turned out that I did get it done in a week, because I got an EC, and then I spent the first half of that 2-week EC working on another project that needed to be due in, and then in a week it was done. So
yes, but to what standard? You haven't had the marks back yet.
I'm actually quite proud of the site. I don't know if you saw like the original site that I made up in like a day when I was like, because this site actually grew from an original idea that I had about 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. The original idea site was, I thought at the time, fairly fine looking, and now I look back on it compared to what I've got now, disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, what you've got now, and I've said this to you, I'm so impressed with you and it, because
let's be clear here. It wasn't all my. I mean, I was like stealing from templates that are available.
Yeah, but that's fine, Adam. No problem with that. But what you've made looks so nice. No offense to you, compared to some of your stuff I've seen in the past.
Okay. But it's a nice compliment with a little bit of a kicker at the end.
With the kicker, it looks great. So I feel very proud of you. Do I feel proud that you started it in less than a week? No, I don't feel proud about that point.
I think it's actually, so it uses some nice tech. It's Jamstack. It's all like front end compiled on Netlify. Real nice, speedy. It's very nice. The stuff is nice.
The stuff is nice. I know that you like to leave things for the last moment.
I work well under pressure.
You do.
And that really what I mean by that is I don't work until there's pressure.
Yes. There is one of those laws about that, isn't there?
I wouldn't be able to get that for you.
No, one of those computer science laws.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about looking that up now
for you.
But yeah, I know you like to leave things for the last minute, but this is something you actually want to work on, isn't it? have you worked on it since you've handed it in?
No, I've not worked on it since. I've worked on like a corollary product. I don't want to work on it because it's being like viewed and moderated, and I don't want anyone to get angry at me for doing things.
Yes, okay. But this is something you want to do further, though.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm still sending out emails to try and drum up some support, but
because that's why I was like I was sure that would be a motivation for you to start earlier than you normally do, because I understand you can achieve like what you wanted to within a week for like assessment purposes, but you wouldn't be able to like make it in a week, release it, done.
In fact, actually, I think for assessment purposes, I could have done it in even less time. I realised when I was showing it off, I realised how much extra work I'd done that just wasn't going to be like all these like fancy error handling, and like I made like a pretty tight API, and it would, but no one was accessing the API without the site, so it doesn't matter, right?
I was wondering, because you said when you were thinking about this, like in one of our last episodes, you said that actually there wasn't that much involved with it really, and that's why you felt you were able to do it so quickly. Yeah,
no, that was obviously, I mean, that was wrong.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on that statement now, because I assumed that actually there was a lot more work than you thought, even though you're happy with how it is now, but still.
Well, kind of. I mean, so a lot of the work, because I've done this like stack before.
Have you?
Actually, yeah. So the like, well, not the front end stack, but the like the serverless back end stuff.
Oh, with that thing you were trying out before.
Yeah, and the I've done Vue and stuff before. So the back end was able to I like pulled the config from the other project I worked from, so that it took a lot the first time, but since then there's no extra effort been put into it. So like a lot of the like hard slog getting things to work and they're just not working wasn't too bad. There was a lot of the going back and working on it was just like prettying stuff. There was a lot of faffing around with CSS to try and like, oh, this border, shrink this slightly, bump this up a little bit. That was what took a lot of time, and you don't see that time, right?
That really impresses me with you, that you were spending time on that, because
I'm kind of upset that you do this.
You're impressing me a lot recently, Adam. But I really think when you're
that's nice, but also previously I wasn't.
No, but now you are. But I really think like when you're making something full stack like that, 90% of your time, I find is like front end type stuff. Either just like with like your front end frameworks like Vue, React, or just like CSS, moving things around. You do a lot of front end stuff, much more than back end. I feel. I suppose it depends on framework and stuff like that.
It depends on the product you're doing. It was not back end intensive. It's also hard to think of a lot of things nowadays that are particularly, because it's just web tech stuff that aren't particularly.
Yeah, mine was a little back end intensive because I was doing things like making.
You were interacting with other APIs and things.
Because the users would upload like images and videos and stuff, and then I would make thumbnails from those files that they've uploaded to the server. So there was some processing like that going on the server.
Were you not like using another service for that? Were you doing that manually?
Just doing it manually. Just using a little library for it.
Right. Okay.
And it was, it was like three lines, and you make a thumbnail from an image. Easy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was happy with, because I guess there was the option to do like stuff like that on the client side as well, but I think it was fine. But still, I found like I was spending a lot of time mostly just doing front end type stuff. I remember like doing file uploads I was using a library for it, but it was still like, it took me a long time to get it working right and looking good and all that,
Yeah, I think because I have unimplemented, but like the option to like upload images on my thing, and I considered doing it, and it'd just be, that would have been a faff, right? To integrate it with like AWS S3 and with my database, and that, oh gosh, uploading that stuff, I did not want to deal with it.
No, I think whenever you're handling files, it's always like a little bit of an issue.
And you've got to check the file type, and you've got to handle it nicely because it could be malicious.
Yes.
Gosh, yeah.
For example, in my local environment, I'm storing uploaded files locally, and then in production, they're being stored on S3.
Yeah.
So even just that was a bit tricky to get right. There's a lot of little finicky things with files, isn't there?
Yeah. I don't want to be getting
into
that,
files. But yeah, I did actually release my product, which is quite exciting. No one's paying for it yet, but I have
how
hope.
Is that? How many weeks has it been available to the public?
So it's been, I don't know, around 6-7 weeks, I think, or something around there. And I've posted it around about places, all the usual suspects.
Yeah, no, I did actually have a look when he told me that he had published it. I had a quick Google, and there was a lot of chatter about it from him. I was impressed.
Yeah, from me, no one else chattering about it. But...
Well, in the first few weeks, Ryan, I'm not expecting Forbes to be posting about it.
No, and I mean, I did get quite a few free sign-ups.
Yeah.
The way I've explained this to you before, the way I set it up was anyone could sign up for free, but because I was making a social media scheduler app, but the crux of the product, being able to publish to your social media accounts, you have to pay just for that privilege. But you can still access every other part of the website. So
right, okay. So people are signing up, trying it,
and not doing anything. But I find that a lot of people aren't actually trying it; they just sign up.
That's interesting.
I think that's just kind of the way with a lot of web app type stuff, and I think I also do the same. Where I'll sign up for something and then decide I don't want to be here and I'll leave. You must feel like that sometimes on certain websites.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I suppose so.
It's always I think it's harder to convert than you think it would be. Conversion rates are always very, very low. You'll always have lots of users who aren't ready to buy for whatever reason.
Do you stats and analytics on what your users are doing?
So I haven't put analytics on this website because I am a bit I don't know, I'm in a bit of a limbo with analytics right now.
Yeah, I mean I'm not saying explicitly the Google stuff, there are slightly more friendly options.
That's your only real option, I feel, isn't it?
Really? I mean I've never implemented, but I've seen other more supposed to be more friendly, more open.
There are other options. I've seen one that's very nice, but you have to pay for it monthly.
Right, okay.
Because, I suppose they're not selling the data to whoever they sell it to. So
a significant cost? Is it on a per user basis?
It was, and I think it was. I think the one I saw was per impression, and once you get to the hundreds of thousands, it becomes very expensive. Well, I say very. It becomes hundreds of pounds a month, which is quite a lot just for analytics. When you can technically get the same thing for free, all you're paying for is to preserve your users' privacy.
Yeah.
So I haven't put analytics on this because I don't want to. I don't know how I feel about analytics right now. I know they're useful, but I don't like the privacy aspects of it.
Yeah.
The privacy concerns around analytics, and I know it's anonymous and all that. I just don't want to collect that data.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know. So presumably you at least could gather how often these people log in. I mean, that's something you could do. I
probably could, but I don't know how.
Well, you could just log it, surely, in the database. You could log...
I think it is. I think it's just stored in a sessions table in the database. I could probably look at something there, but I don't do that. All I've looked at really as statsness is just to see how many users have signed up,
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not really doing more analytics than that, but I don't really want to do with this. It's just a little fun project I made, and I'm not really interested in collecting that data,
Yeah. And I'm just interested in what's stopping these people from moving forward.
I just think it's always the case. I am interested as well, though, Adam, but I think you always have people who will just sign up and won't pay
Yeah.
And I think my product is quite niche. I've told you about it. It's not like your bog standard social media scheduler. It comes with a twist, if you will.
I mean, this is an ad spot for it, really.
Yeah, but I don't think this is my target audience.
Won't be named, but there might exist a product out there for you.
Yes. Well, maybe you can find it if you look hard enough. I have posted it like all over the web, so. But
10% off if you find us and email us about it.
Yeah.
Not a real offer.
I mean, I'm handing out like the money off vouchers and all that, on social media. No one's biting. It's okay.
Just to clarify here, audience, he is crying at the moment, full tears. It's okay.
I mean, I still only have like 40 followers on the account, so I don't have high hopes for me like using social media as a strong marketing tool right now for it. But yeah, it's still early days, and really, I wanted to make this for my own purposes, because this is something I made. What the crux of this project is, I made as like a little PHP script probably about 5 years ago now. And I wanted to make it into like an actual product that looked nice and maybe other people would want to use. But I want to use it anyway, so I'm not too upset if no one uses it, because I'm using it. And I actually have a few uses for it, not just like one little thing. There's a few things I'm doing with it, and I'm also using it to advertise itself, which is quite interesting, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, currently ineffective, but yeah.
Ineffective, but maybe, maybe one day someone will look at one of those hashtags that I'm using and they'll come across it and sign up. And then I'll finally have some monthly recurring revenue from it.
I mean, it's not costing you... Are you like free tier on it, or is it costing you a little bit?
No, it's not on free tier.
Oh.
I mean, S3 is like really, really inexpensive, isn't it?
Well, it depends what you're doing with it.
From my experience, I think I've spent like 1 pence on it so far.
Right.
The EC2 costs are a bit more. I've got it just running on like a EC2 server. I've been through this with you before on the podcast. Yeah. I'm using Laravel Forge for it.
Yeah, see, I'm publishing it. I recently did like a little trial project. I was trying to get something to working with the like Facebook Messenger API, and I just like published it just as serverless, and this is something I've later scrapped because it turns out I couldn't do what I wanted with it. But I'm very excited just to publish anything to serverless because it's just so free. It's so free and just easy to get something online instantly.
It is exciting, and I do like it. It's not for me right now. But the thing is with like using Laravel, you've got like Laravel Vapor, so I could probably quite easily switch to serverless at some point. Without much trouble, because you've got Laravel Forge, Laravel Vapor, serverful and serverless ways to host Laravel apps. I
mean, I think you should do it with some JS just to understand the service a little more than just a one-click Laravel button.
Well, do I need to understand it more? I mean, I enjoy an abstraction. If I don't have to deal with AWS, then that's makes me very happy, because I don't like doing that.
How freeing it is. Just to like go, wow, it's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I could do something in JavaScript, but I'm just a Laravel lover. You know me, Adam, and I feel like I'm just in it now. I'm in the ecosystem, and I love it.
On the discussion of doing something possibly in JavaScript, we've got a new project to do.
Oh, we do, yes.
With the university, me, Ryan, and a couple of other people are in a team to create essentially a tech demo for a couple of features that a company that, for legal reasons, will not be named. Just to like a couple of features they're interested in implementing on their own product. So I mean, we've decided to use like a Laravel Vue stack because it's similar to what they're using at the moment.
Because then if they look at it, they will immediately understand, because they speak Laravel and Vue very well. And, it shouldn't be a big deal, really. You should be able to handle any language as a developer. Are you excited to exercise some agile, Adam?
Yes. So
when you were like doing stuff with like the meetings and stuff last week and the things you were saying, I could just like sense how much you were enjoying the agile project management aspect of it. It just makes you so happy, which is something I've not experienced with anyone else.
I was born into it. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm just interested into trying it out, right? I think the project we've been given isn't particularly like a technical difficulty, right? I think this really could be done with, even just 2 of us in a week. It's an 8-week we've got for this project.
I still find it quite exciting because we're basically just working on a load of different versions of features so they can see how something might look, rather than us building, like we've done before in the past with the client projects at the NSA, building like full stack apps that are basically kind of similar, how they each work to each other. This is something like we haven't really experienced before, this type of project. So I think it's quite exciting in that respect.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think what I'm excited for, particularly though, as you were mentioning, is because it's not too technically difficult. I think we can go a little ham on the agile stuff, just trying different methods of working together. So, for an example, we've kind of created ourselves. I don't know if it does exist. I won't claim ownership of it. But this major minor structure in which we have a mentor, so we have someone else on the team to help to pair up with us on each issue.
Yeah, I'd like to know if it already exists. It would surprise me if this is something that is brand new.
Yeah, I assume it does exist elsewhere.
It must exist, but I want to know what is it called. Maybe someone can tell us if they listen this far in.
If there are any agile experts listening.
Yeah, because I want this must already exist. It's not groundbreaking, but it's interesting to me. Anyway.
Yeah, I think because what I really, really enjoy is pair programming and doing things together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's maybe like it's not the fastest way to get something done, but it gets like a really nice outcome from it in that there's like learning on both sides. The product we make is better because I think you're forced to write better software when someone's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bit of camaraderie,
shared knowledge.
Enjoy it. Yeah, I would quite like to do something like regarding helping that process in the future or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yeah. So it was kind of based off that enjoyment of it. It was mentioned just like offhandedly by a lecturer when we were having a discussion with them, and I kind of took it and ran with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
it excites me because I feel like if I think of projects I worked on in the past, they've not been that agile in nature. We'll be following some like agile rules, if you will. Although I don't want to say rules because that's not very agile, is it?
No, I don't think it was. It felt very academic in that we were just doing things because we had to, right? You get X amount of marks for doing it.
We were being marked on how agile we were, which makes you not really want to be agile.
Not really being agile, yeah.
Yeah, so it excites me to try something new like this out because I think it might make the project more successful. And obviously, if it doesn't work out, we'll just discuss in the retrospective and then we won't do it ever again. But I am hopeful for it. I think it sounds interesting. It's a good way to share knowledge around the team. It's a good way to make the team feel supported, having this like major minor idea. So yeah, I'm fully behind it now. I wasn't initially, but I am now.
Yeah, I think our team's quite exciting as well because previously I think we've found ourselves maybe fighting against the team, and it's been a little bit of an odd dynamic when some people have been stronger, some people have been weaker. But I think the team we got at the moment is very strong and very similar. So I think it'll be like much more indicative of real development when we've got team who cares and wants to do something.
Yeah, we are strong, and it's quite exciting to work with you on a project like this as well. We've worked on a project before, but not for assessed purposes. So that would be quite exciting for us to do for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
How much will we still be friends after 8 weeks, do you think?
Yeah, if you see just a degradation in our ability to talk with each other during this podcast week.
This podcast may not last the 8 weeks. We'll see.
It'll descend into just hurling insults at each other.
Yes, and then you'll never hear from us ever again.
Yeah, it'll just be the last podcast. One of us will appear and claim not to know what happened to the other person, right? As an alibi.
Yeah, and that's maybe an interesting little point to make there that you've just reminded me of, because when we worked on that summer project, Adam, how long was that? 6 weeks, 8 weeks? I can't really remember now.
It wasn't too long. I think it could have been more like 4 to 6 weeks.
Do you? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But for background, me and Adam worked on a summer research project with the university, and that I think that was we worked quite successfully looking at it. I know, but it was quite interesting because there were moments when we clashed a bit on certain things because we both have very strong opinions.
Yeah, I think the problem with that project, and I don't want to assign blame, I think we didn't speak as much as we should have done. We spoke over Messenger and things, but we should have done something like this. We should have verbally talked to each other because it was during lockdown. We were both,
It was the start of lockdown as well, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think
we're different nations of the UK. We were located in.
Yeah,
quite far away from each other.
Yeah, and it was the whole being online type of thing was a bit new then. Online in the sense of having meetings online all the time, which now is completely normal and you just do it constantly.
Yeah,
but then it was still a bit newer.
We'd only do it once a week with the client, so we wouldn't have kind of dev meetings.
Did we not ever have those kind of time of meetings?
I think we did have them, but I think we didn't go for them.
Yeah, and there is a bit. This is quite a good point again. Thinking of we're going into a 4-person project. When we were just you and me working on a project, how you work is not the same from 4 to 2 to 1 compared to the project we've just done for that assessment as well,
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you can never work the same way on any project. I feel you always have to kind of change how you work.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly couldn't just do it all in the last week. I mean, I probably could do it all in the last week. It just wouldn't be, something to win over the team.
I think, you having someone expecting you to do work for that week, so that then it forces you to do it. Yeah. You need that kind of, what's the word? You need that.
I need the accountability.
Accountability, yes, you definitely need the accountability. And you when you work in a group of at least more than one, you have that then, which is useful for you.
Yeah.
For me...
And before I could kind of bowl over my team and just kind of do what I wanted.
Yes. I kind of find for me that I think I do work better on my own. Not in, I still think I can work with others. I'm not just an introverted developer who just always wants to work on their own. I like working with others, but I just do think I do work better on my own. I think I work faster. I get to have more control over the project.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. It's because the communication between the developers, if you want, when you're working with, is instant, right? You know exactly what you're thinking, and that friction that friction actually is it's very visceral. You can feel it when you're working on a project with other people.
Because you basically just have to share every thought you get with the other person so that you're both on the same page, I say both, I'm thinking of our project again there. And then, because we were just basically just talking non-stop, on Messenger about the project, weren't we?
And we weren't even particularly working as a team. We were actually working as 2 separate teams. Ryan was on the front end, I was on the back end.
And that wasn't even planned. It just happened that Adam became back end developer and I became front end. I don't know how that even happened, but it just did.
I mean, I think that was inevitable, right? You're much stronger at design and things like that, so I can't take that from you, and produce something that you'd be happy with.
But the thing was, it wasn't even planned. It just...
Yeah.
I can't even think of the moment that happened, Adam, where we went from whatever we were doing before to somehow Adam's now just doing full back end and I'm supporting the same feature with front end, and we were working on each issue together.
Yeah, essentially what happened was I would say, I'm going to give you this data, and Ryan say, okay. Or I would like this data from you, Adam. Can you give it to me in an endpoint? I'd give him the endpoint, say, give me this, and I'll give you it.
It was literally that on repeat. Like, you would say what the API would return. I would deal with that on the front end.
There was no documentation until we had to hand it over, in which case I, scurried around.
I somehow could not handle, looking at your back-end code at all. I had no understanding of how it worked. How did we end up like that? I could not make a change on the front end. With just the two of us, and somehow we had no shared knowledge of the application at all. That was really interesting how that kind of worked out.
I mean, I think I think it was sustainable in that it could have gone like that as long as there was no big issues, right? If there was a big problem, Ryan left, for example, he left the team, and it would be catastrophic.
I mean, the truck factor for that project was not great with us at all. I don't know why we didn't have more shared knowledge looking back at it. I feel like if we worked on it now, we definitely wouldn't work on it that way. We would be more full stack with it now, I'd hope.
You'd hope so, right? I think also I wasn't very confident with doing the front end, so I wasn't volunteering myself.
And I think you are a bit more now.
Yeah.
So...
Well, now you've said nice things about my front-end design.
I think now it would end up a bit more full stack. We'd work on an issue individually rather than together, not doing separate back-end, front-end, because that was, looking back, that was madness, really.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how that went as a 2-person project, to how we're going into a 4-person or 5-person project. And then also, I want to reflect back as well on working on a 1-person project, like we have over the last semester, because... I feel like depending on the amount of people you work with, the way you work is not at all the same,
Actually, I might be going back on a point here. I just had a thought. The design language of the front end actually requires a lot of care and this shared knowledge. Because thinking back to when we've previously done group tasks, I've taken full reins of what the front end looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, on every project I've done as a group with the university, because it's hard to work on that as multiple people, right?
Yeah.
Because you have one idea in your head, and it's very difficult to share that. You kind of you actually you build up. Okay, I want the nav to look like this, and I want the things to look like that. And people can derive from that what other pages should look like, but...
I find it quite hard when you're working, say, in an agile way, and you're trying for each issue to be very specific and only related to one thing. But then you still need someone to make, say, the layout of the website, right?
Yeah.
That's not really an issue. It's not a user story. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of wondering where that fits in with working on a project in an agile way.
I think if you had if your user stories were all functional, as in I want the user to be able to log in, then you don't need, you can just have raw HTML. You can have a button that says log in and just a basic form. It has to be more wishy-washy, right? It has to be, I want the user to have a seamless experience. I want them to not vomit when they see the website.
Yeah, so I think isn't very ideal, really, especially when you have separate people. So you've got, say, one working on a login page, one working on the dashboard. The style might not be exactly the same. You might be following the same kind of layout, but your margins might be slightly off, or something that's not quite exactly the same between the pages.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens when you get more than one person on a project. It's not always exactly cohesive, unless, I think, you have someone who works just on the UI or the front end, and that is their job. And I kind of think it's important to have that in a group project, which we won't be doing this, but
no, we're not really a front end project. But there must be solutions to this, because outside of the software world, there are like marketing people who in teams of people design logos and adverts and things like that, and they're all cohesive in their design language.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be solutions to working as a team on like a cohesive design idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I'd welcome some insights on that.
Yeah, if there are any designers listening,
please let us know how you do it.
Yeah.
But that's like reflecting back on the solo project we did, because you completely like have full control over your project. You get full control over how it looks. You can kind of make sure it's a bit more cohesive. You don't have issues like this about, needing a user story for your layout or for like your dashboard. You don't need that, because you just work on your layout, as and when. And you might just throughout the project, you might notice little things and you just add a little thing here or there, or you'll move something about or increase the spacing or margins or something. Which stuff like that doesn't really fit into a user story. Like, you're not going to have a user story that's like, I want to increase the margins by 5 pixels, But when you're working on a solo project, it's very easy to be like, oh, I want this to actually be a bit lower. I'll make the change and send it off to main branch.
I suppose because the way that Agile is quite test driven, actually from the guest lecture we had last week describing the test driven nature of Agile, it's difficult to do that with the design. From my, there might be testing frameworks for this, I don't know, but I've not had any experience with things say, I want a cohesive visual experience and things, I don't want things to look weird, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to test that programmatically, but you can see when things don't look right. You can see, well, that margin shouldn't be so large or shouldn't,
Yeah.
This item should be centered.
And it's not even just like, oh, that margin shouldn't be so large, but you might just think, oh, maybe this would look nicer if it was like just a little bit bigger. And as a solo developer, you are free to make that choice and just send it off onto the branch you're working on, send it to production done. But working in a team, you're not gonna make that an issue. Probably not gonna just be working off main just to make a little commit like that. Especially not with other people on the team, because they probably want to know why you're doing that. So that is quite difficult. Something I did see, I can't remember who this is, but I saw that there's a company that works like in an agile way normally, and maybe this isn't ideal per se, but nothing's ideal in software engineering, I find. But they'll have a week every so often where they just spend it on like fixes, and that's it. I can't remember what this was. I don't think it was a website. I think it was some kind of like a company that makes lots of applications or something. I can't remember now. But they have like a week where they just work on like fixes and like all the little types of things, rather than non-stop working on like stories and features.
Yeah, I think that's probably a failure on their part, though, right? Because they should have their process to committing this code shouldn't have the errors,
But it happens though. It will happen.
Yeah.
You can always say it shouldn't. Everyone agrees it shouldn't, but it does. You're always going to have issues in your code. It won't always work exactly how you want it to in production. Having like a fix week, you should probably be fixing things as you go along rather than just all in 1 week.
Yeah.
And making it just like a part of your normal process. But I mean,
you should probably have like fixed issues or something if you.
I can maybe if in like certain places are very strapped for time and they've got to get these features out now, then it's not possible always to like prioritize the fixes. Hard for me to relate to that lifestyle, but I'm sure there's reasons why they do that. The other thing I wanted to say was how important it is when you work on your own. You've got to really like maximize your efficiency, because you've got so many hats on. You've got all the hats on. Because I was thinking about how I'd planned my solo project. I hadn't done any user stories or anything like that. for me, I feel like they're not useful enough to warrant spending the time of writing a load of user stories.
Yeah, it was picked up by the lecturer when I spoke about the project we'd done, that I've not done any issues or anything like that. And I agreed that I hadn't, but I was reluctant to see it as something that I would be doing. Because I know them, right? I know them in my head. I don't need to write them down.
They already exist, yeah. The big benefit I find for user stories is more that when you're working with other people, you can write a story that explains to other people what you're doing and why, which isn't as easily understood from just like, make login page. I know that's the constant example, but it's a good way to portray what you're doing, who it's for, and why to someone else.
I mean, I think the counter argument to that is that actually, if I'd have done that, if I'd have worked out exactly what I needed to do and had some idea of the importance of it, I could have prioritised things better. Right? I wouldn't have wasted too much time on making the API quite nice. I would have worked on other bits, but yeah, I think it feels counterintuitive in the moment, right? When you've got a list of things that are like, okay, I need to code this up. You don't think, right, okay, let's start writing some stuff down.
It's up to you, I guess. Is it worth it for you?
Yes. The argument that was made to me by the lecturer as well on this is, well, what if, Adam, someone else wanted to work on this? What if, like, you wanted to get someone else to help along with stuff? How easy would it be to get them to know what to do? And in my case, actually, it would be very difficult. I've got words written down on a piece of paper, but they really only mean something to me, right? And I think that's a valid point, right?
Instead of having the knowledge in your head, Adam, you need knowledge in the world.
Knowledge understandable as well, right? Not just fix weird button on the main menu.
Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say, really. We've talked about project planning and sort of development and working in a team.
An effective podcast, I'm thinking. We learnt a lot.
Should we end it there?
I think we should end it there. Thank you for listening.